On the Isles of Scilly, much to the relief of the chaplain, retired priests Donald and Margaret Marr are back on the islands to lend a hand and waste no time getting straight down to business.
Really pleased to be back. And on a day like this, where else could you want to be?
With work on the new holiday development underway, seamstress Caroline is hoping for a big contract which will help secure her finances for the foreseeable future.
I couldn't live anywhere else. I'd be devastated if we had to move.
And with the end of summer, Islanders' thoughts turn to the long months of winter and the success of a new idea to improve their way of life.
An hour before, you think, oh, what if nobody turns up? And you look at all the food and you think, oh dear.
On the Isles of Scilly, the summer so far has been one of the worst on record. There have been weeks of lashing rain and sudden storms. Not good news for a fragile economy that relies almost totally on the holidaymakers. The number of day trippers dropped dramatically, and every day bookings are cancelled. The boatmen are amongst the hardest hit. When the weather's like this, nobody wants to travel between the islands. It looked like summer on Scilly would be a washout. At the end of August, a transformation. Unlike the rest of the country, here there's day after day of unbroken sunshine. The unexpected Indian summer might just have come in time to save the bacon of boatmen like Fraser Hicks. The traditional evening gig races, the favourite pastime of the islanders, have been barely supported at all in recent weeks. Now they're having to pull in extra boats for all the spectators.
What do you think, Fraser? Quite a good end to the season, this?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's all good entertainment, isn't it? For the gig racing, it's good fun.
And after the bad few weeks of weather you've had, this is quite a good end.
It is, yeah. It's ideal, really. I mean, it's a nice bit of sunshine and reasonably flat weather, and hopefully for the next sort of week or so, it'll be all right. We'll have a bit of reasonable weather and give people a chance to get out and see a bit.
So you're a slightly happier man now?
Yeah, well, I'm always happy, really.
The chaplain to the islands, Father Guy, is on the mainland for a much-needed holiday break, so the Reverend Donald wastes no time in getting down to business. Donald first came to stay in the old parsonage here on Tresco 15 years ago to recover from a stroke that nearly killed him. Every autumn since, he and his wife Margaret leave their home in Cheshire and return here to help with parish duties. Today, Donald's down in the harbour to bless a new training gig for young island rowers.
So are you pleased to be back, Donald?
Yeah, really pleased to be back. And on a day like this, where else could you want to be? And sharing in a lovely island event, blessing a new boat. Quite honestly, this summer hasn't been the easiest summer for the islands. The weather has been bad. It's not been a good season. The boat people, certainly on St Mary's, have not had a good year economically. They are going to be hurting. But the islands have amazing powers of recovery. And today, in a way, is saying that. This is a new gig that new people who are learning to row gigs will be training in. The islands are very good at renewing themselves. So, God's blessing be on you, Trier. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Then, of course, there is the club. and those who will row her and cox her. God's blessing be on you lot too.
With weather like this, there are gigs to be seen on beaches all over the islands, many of them visiting boats from the mainland. On the most northerly island, St Martin's, the rowers are naturally heading up to the Seven Stones, the only pub on the island, which, thanks to the Indian summer, is also enjoying a late-season boost in business. Landlord Toby is looking relieved.
It's been a great day, a lovely atmosphere, lots of food inside and outside, lots of drinks sold. Yeah, it's been great. It's been a really good fun day.
Still enough people to keep you busy for an afternoon, though.
Yes, yeah, it's been a very busy afternoon. Yeah, and we've got another 3 events like this before the season sort of finally comes to an end, really.
And when the season ends here, it ends dramatically. The moment the school holidays finish, takings plummet, often to less than 10% of the previous week. It's only now that Toby's beginning to realise what a huge gamble buying the pub really was.
I think I was in shock for the first month, really. I used to walk in the kitchen with a completely glazed look and Paulie would shove things in my mouth and I couldn't even taste them because I was in a panic mode of like, what the hell have I done, really? This is, was this a right decision?
So Toby has just about held his own through the summer. Now he's got to find ways of holding up through the long winter months until the tourists return next March. The islanders all have different ways of keeping busy through the winter. Line dancing has arrived on the main island of St Mary's in a big way. The new craze has gripped the ladies here. And now it's made its way across the waters to the smaller off-islands, and one person in particular. Like most islanders, Chris Taylor can't earn enough from just one job. Her Auntie Chris's homemade fudge is a nice little earner in the summer. But she also has to rent out part of her home to holidaymakers. In winter, she has to fall back on her main job. Auntie Chris is Scilly's resident chiropodist.
I'll see you in the surgery either next week or the week after. Just give me a ring.
Okay.
Okay, nice to see you. Bye.
Now, line dancing has started to play a major role in her life. Is line dancing a big thing on Scilly then?
It is on St Mary's and it is on St Martin's, but we've only just really this year introduced it to Briar.
So it's a new thing on Briar?
Yes, and very popular. I don't know if line dancing is popular on the mainland, I think it is, but it's such fun and you don't have to be good at it. You can just join in and do your own thing. So all ages, all levels of expertise.
So you're a good line dancer yourself?
I like to think so, but other people have told me that perhaps I'm not so good. But once you've got a cowboy hat on, it's great. You just feel that you can go with the flow and enjoy it.
And have you got good feet for dancing?
Yes, I have. I've got good feet. Yes, and I like to think that all the others will have if they come to me and have their feet done.
I can't wait. Ladies all over the islands are busy rehearsing for a big evening that's coming up soon. An evening which will have major ramifications for Auntie Chris and all her fellow islanders. The daily rhythm of life on the Isles of Scilly depends almost entirely on the sea. Bad weather means the inter-island boats simply can't operate, so the smaller off-islands must get used to being isolated, sometimes for days. Then there are the tides. Twice a year, the whole landscape of Scilly takes on a particularly weird and unusual transformation. The spring and autumn equinoxes bring with them dramatically low tides. The water that cuts off the small islands at other times now just simply disappears. Suddenly, it's possible to walk between some of the islands. The very low tides affect all aspects of island life. Today coincides with one of the biggest church events of the year. The congregations are always packed for Harvest Festival. This year on Tresco, numbers have been swelled by people who've walked across the sand from neighbouring islands. Donald and Margaret are well aware of the effects the tides have not only on the geography, but on the minds of the islanders.
Scilly becomes a different place at low tide, doesn't it?
Yes, it looks as though somebody's pulled a very big plug out of the world and all the water's disappeared. It really shows perhaps what these islands were like thousands of years ago when they were one island.
There's a very thin veil in these islands between us and God. Whatever your belief, you can't help but feel in these islands that there is a greater power than us.
Do you feel the sense of awe sometimes?
Oh, very much so. And so do lots of visitors. And they will say, gosh, it makes you think, doesn't it? And I think it does. When they see the power of the sea, the majesty of the sea, it makes them stop and think that, well, there is something bigger than the chairman of the board, or the next bonus, or whatever, bigger.
Getting between the islands requires perfect timing, or you're in trouble as the sea returns. The artist Richard Pearce and his wife Caroline are taking advantage of the odd conditions to make a rather special trip across the sand flats.
Do you think you're going to have enough petrol to get over to Tresco?
I have just filled up the vehicle. I'll double check. I've got half full.
Because it wouldn't do for it to break down halfway across, would it?
No, I'll go and take my phone with me, so...
It's a great opportunity to save precious money by avoiding the ferry.
My daughter's recently moved to Tresco with my son-in-law and 2 grandsons, and most of their stuff has been moved over, but there's these last few bits that are cluttering up my house, and I think they should have them over there.
So you can actually drive from Briar across to Tresco at this very low tide?
You can. And usually you can tell the shallowest bit because the seagulls are walking about in it, and if it's not up to their knees, you know you can get through.
Like many of the islanders, Richard and Caroline lead an idyllic but precarious existence. Richard was a subsistence farmer, but after injuring his back, discovered a talent for painting. From his gallery on the beach, a converted boat shed, Richard's paintings sell well to tourists, but it's a very seasonal business. During winter, the couple must rely heavily on Caroline's income. She's a seamstress, and over the years has developed quite a little business making soft furnishings for the local hotels and timeshare cottages. Now she's hoping to win the contract to fit out the big new holiday development that's under construction. It could underpin their unreliable finances. Like most islanders, they can never own their own house, so as tenants to Prince Charles and the Duchy of Cornwall, there'll always be a rent rise looming.
How important is this home in your and Richard's life?
I couldn't live anywhere else. I'd be devastated if we had to move. Totally devastated. And to move away from the sea would be bad enough, but I don't know. You just really put down roots. And although we don't own our house, we rent it from the Duchy, it may be their house, but it is our home. And that's how you look at it. You never think of it as being theirs.
Sort of dream location, this, isn't it?
Oh, it's incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Could you imagine living in a city on the mainland now?
No, no way.
While she waits for news of the big new contract, Caroline has other worries to contend with. Having a young family to look after, her recently returned daughter Helen also needs to find ways of earning whatever money she can. Winter's hardly the best time to be looking. Caroline can't stay long. She needs to hurry back because in just an hour or two, these sand flats will be under 3 meters of seawater. Meanwhile, someone else is busy taking advantage of the fine autumn sunshine. Like almost everyone else on Scilly, Toby too has his mind focused on finding new ways to raise funds in the long winter months ahead.
It's a very photogenic place.
It is, it's incredible, and I see most of the shots that I want to take when I'm running around the island. You know, I'll run past a place and I'll see it several times and think, I'm going to come back and shoot that. That's lovely.
Toby used to be a photographer back in London, so he's keen to exploit his old skills. At his cottage up by the bakery, Toby's been collating a series of photographs of the island he's lived on and loved for the last 15 years. His long-term ambition is to have them published.
It's a bit of a gamble, all this, isn't it? Have you any idea how many copies you might sell?
I'm really not sure. I'd like to think we'd sell 10,000. But it could be much bigger than that, but...
It could be much smaller.
It could be much smaller, then we're left with, you know, a bit of debt on our hands, really.
The problem is that Toby's never tried anything like this before and urgently needs to find a publisher. It's a limited market, and this may be no easy task. With Father Guy away, getting around all the islands for church services and pastoral work is proving quite a challenge for the two retired priests, Donald and Margaret. This Sunday, the boatmen first drop off Donald on Briar for the 9:15 service, whilst Margaret is whisked away across the water for the 9:40 over on St Agnes. There's no time to waste. Donald needs to be back on Tresco for the 10:30.
Has everybody got tea cloths? Because I know, try as I might, strive as hard as I can.
When Margaret has finished the 9:40 on St Agnes, she must be raced across the water for the 11 o'clock on St Mary's. Donald, meanwhile, is all done at the 9:15 on Briar. After giving Julie, the organist, a leg over on the quad, it's off for the 10:30 on Tresco, leaving the church here, once again, quiet and empty. This is one of the very few places on Briar for islanders to get together. In fact, such are the peculiarities of life here that there's really only one other place for large numbers of people to meet on the entire island. This old timber shack has stood here for nearly 60 years. It used to be the island's school. Now it's the only place for dances, talks and get-togethers, doubling up as the doctor's surgery. After many years, there are plans to replace it. Leading the fundraising is one of the island's best-known faces. Auntie Chris is the brains behind what she hopes could be one of the biggest fundraising events to date. With everyone tightening their belts, new and imaginative ideas to raise funds are required.
We've had loads of fundraising events. The fete was obviously the big thing. We've had a big raffle, which has been ongoing with wonderful prizes. Initially, the line dancing was just meant to be a pleasurable thing to do because line dancing hasn't really come to Briar very often. And then we thought, well, let's raise some funds and give people a jolly good evening at the same time.
They're relying on ladies from the other islands to join them for the evening. But, as always on Scilly, that depends entirely on the weather.
I do hope people come. 16, you need 4 more. It's like any event you organise, about an hour before, you think, oh, what if nobody turns up? And you look at all the food and you think, oh dear.
You could end up spending more than you actually make.
You could end up spending more than you make, but you have to be optimistic, and optimistic we are.
Then how many people are you expecting?
About, I should hope, 50.
Right.
50 would be good. 50 will fill the hall, really.
Fingers crossed for tonight.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I am a bit nervous, but I always am nervous, so it'll all be all right on the time.
Meanwhile, Toby's busy compiling dozens more photos for the book. he's decided to include his own story of leaving behind the stress of city life on the mainland to learn to bake here and eventually open his own island bakery.
That is good crimping.
What's with the grin on her face?
To broaden the book's appeal, he's also asked Paulie the chef to include a series of his original recipes from the pub. It's now become a joint venture.
So it's a bit of a different art from cooking to like photography art, you know, you need to have a bit more sheen on things. Like the vegetables, I'm just going to roll in a little bit of oil just so they give a bit more light on the plate, and the sauces have to have a real deep colour to give the dish a bit more. And
so cooking for taste and cooking for the camera are completely different things.
Yeah, I enjoy both. It's probably a good thing. What do you think?
Beautiful. It's lovely. I like the way that goes up there.
Orange too,
yeah,
bit of colour.
That's really clever.
Maybe carrots.
They've got a new impetus. Toby has found a publisher who's interested in the project. A meeting has been arranged on the mainland in a couple of weeks' time.
Have a go. Have a look. Have a go.
We know what happens when I have a go. This one's a beauty.
Is it? Let's have a look.
So, Paulie, you've taken some photos. Does that mean you're letting Toby in the kitchen anytime soon?
Yeah, it just means I can get my name in the book as well as taking pictures.
Oh, yeah. That's quite nice. The only thing I don't like about that is when that ends and there's that dark gap.
Yeah.
We're quite enjoying it, and we're learning as we go, you know. And I used to do photography many years ago, and it's been a bit of a relearning process. I've never shot food before. I've always shot fashion, really. So, but it's the same, really. You explore a subject, you move around it, you try and get a feel for it, and look at it with a sort of a composition in mind, you know. So that's the way we're approaching it, really. That's nice. That's really good.
That's one that I took. That one.
No rubbish.
Yeah, no, it is. I remember.
No, you cooked it. I shot it. I didn't shoot it.
Oh, this one is good.
That's
it's
good.
Straighter, isn't it? Yeah.
That's good. That's really good.
The weather, mercifully, has held for Auntie Chris. Boatloads of ladies are arriving by the minute. This is really the first time since the start of the season the islanders have been able to spare the time for some fun for themselves. Before the dancing gets underway, the ladies need to be fueled up.
There we go. Chili bean feast. It's not too hot, but you like chili.
They need to raise £500 tonight to reach the magic £70,000 target needed to start the rebuilding. As the light fades, still they keep coming. It seems this newfangled craze of line dancing has finally reached the remotest corner of England.
The grapevine, so we step to the right, pop your foot behind, step to the right, and then hitch up this left knee, and then to the left. Step.
Auntie Chris's brainwave has triumphed. Far more money than ever expected has been rolling in all evening. This has now become the last ever event in the Briar Community Centre.
Yes, I have a few people queuing at the door, so it's been really good. Sorry? Yes, I have. So it's a nice atmosphere, and hopefully we'll have a good fun evening and raise lots of money.
So pressure's on, right?
Yes, yeah, lovely, thank you.
Work will begin on a replacement in a few weeks' time. That is, if the creaking timber floor makes it through to the end of the evening. Over recent weeks at Richard and Caroline's house, the little workshop in the garden has been humming with activity.
Yeah. I've got all the linings cut anyway.
Caroline's been joined by her daughter Helen, and there seems to be plenty of work for both of them. The 12 cottages in the new holiday village will need a lot of curtains and cushions.
So Caroline, what's the news from Tresco Development?
Well, it's really good. We've got the contract, and we've got the contract, so when I finish this winter's work, I can then go straight in to starting on that, and there's no pressure because I've got a nice timescale to do it all in.
So this should see you through, what, the bulk of next year?
Oh, I'd have thought so, yeah, definitely. Which is fantastic, and it's going to be so nice because I can do it at a steady pace and there's no rush. And it's just really exciting. Yeah, it's good, isn't it?
It is good.
So,
and we always
Helen, good news for you?
Yeah, great news for me. A bit of extra work to do with Mum, and it's quite good because it means that it can tie in with the family as well. A bit more flexibility than maybe an office job or a 9-to-5 job.
And it's just such an exciting project. I mean, it's just so fantastic to be involved in a project this size. And I think the finish is going to be great.
So it looks as though there's enough work to see the family through the next season or two. What happens after that, they'll worry about another day. Over on the mainland, and this is the lovely old fishing harbour of Mousel near Penzance. A meeting is about to take place here which could change Toby and Paulie's fortunes forever. They're about to buy a light lunch for one Colm Haywood, well-known publisher of alternative lifestyle books.
It's going to be quite interesting.
Yeah.
Because I know nothing at all about producing a book. You're a chef, I'm a baker.
Yeah, I cook the food.
So what's actually going to happen now, then? Why have you come in?
Well, Colm's just coming down on a train.
publisher?
He's the publisher, yeah, Colm, and he's arriving in the next sort of 5 minutes or so.
He's interested, is he?
He's very interested, yeah. He's very interested. He just wants to encourage us, really, so...
Yeah, we need direction. Yeah,
absolutely.
He's a baker, I'm a cook. We need an hour to put a book together. You must be Paulie.
Paulie, this is Colm.
But will all the hard work of the budding authors really be enough to win over the hard-nosed publisher? In the next programme, as part of a plan to help prepare the island children for mainland life, there's an unusual visit to the heart of the diocese, Truro Cathedral. Heike the vet achieves the ambition of a lifetime, going to great depths to meet the underwater animals of Scilly.
They look pretty big underwater.
Are you alarmed?
No, I'm a vet.
And the islanders prepare to commemorate the biggest tragedy in the island's long history.